And we're live. What is going on, everybody? My name is Nicky Smokes. I'm joined by Steven, Cheah, the man himself. You guys are listening to Nicky's Smoke Shop. It's kind of like the first episode with a fellow Barstool employee outside of Frank, but we kind of did shows together just because we're lunatic Dolphin fans. So Thanks for being my first guest. I appreciate it. Of
course, yeah. Glad to be on the show formerly known as the Smoke Show.
Yes,
which we
the original Smoke Show.
It's an honor to be asked to be on. I'm in Chicago for a couple days for the Bolero thing that we're doing tomorrow, the bowling tournament, and you asked me to be on the show. It's an honor. I think that you are a lightning rod for controversy.
Yes,
in my opinion, and I've said this on the Yak and other shows that I've been asked. I think that you're doing a really good job for our job. I think you can rub some people the wrong way, but I think in our field, very unique field, that is. This isn't a popularity contest. Just because you're the best liked guy amongst everyone doesn't mean you're doing the best job. I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you. That means a lot. And I'm glad you said that because with all the controversy, like you said, lightning rod, I don't know if it's like too much and like I'm pushing my boundaries, but like I came here not to just like fit in, like I want to be part of this company. Like I want to represent this company. So hearing that from someone like you, it means a lot. So thank you for that.
Of course. Welcome.
And then you got your bowling thing this week.
Yes.
Are you a good bowler?
I'm a decent bowler. My high game's a 208.
Oh, you're a great bowler.
I'll typically bowl. I haven't bowled in a while, probably about a year. So, first game maybe I'll bowl like a 140. I'm usually about a 150 to 180 type guy.
And do you drink at all or no? Because when I bowl,
like to drink
the more I drink, the better I get. The ball feels lighter. I have more control over it.
Yeah, I like to drink when I bowl. A couple beers.
Do you think it helps?
I think it helps your confidence. I don't know if it helps necessarily your ability, but it helps your confidence. Like, feel what is it? Feel good, play good, or no? Look good, feel good, feel good. Look
good, feel good, play good. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So the beer gives you a little bit of confidence, but on Sunday, when you're drinking beer or whatever it is you're drinking, does that beer give you more confidence in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
So I typically don't drink much on game days.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
So like a lot of people are like big tailgate, like get hammered, go to the game, have an experience. I'm the total opposite. I will have like maybe one or two beers in the parking lot. I will go to the stadium as soon as it opens, hour and a half before the game. I'll get in, I'll get on the field, I'll talk to my friends, be up close to the players, and then I'll go back to my seat and just take in the game. Because I'm very stressed during the game. It's an enjoyable feeling because it's not something that's very replicable. Like now there's 17 weeks in a season. My team hadn't made the playoffs before Brady got here since the 2008 year, 2007 season. So like a really long time. So like I don't take any of these things for granted. In fact, when like a really long time ago on my Barstool crew, I remember I had a run-in with Dave, and he was just gloating about the Pats and their peak powers, and they're going to the Super Bowl, pretty much every year. And the Bucs were sucking with Jameis Winston, and he just goes, he's like, don't you just wish you were me? Like you root for this team and they're just constantly good. And I told him, and I said, no. I was like, honestly, I feel bad for you because all he knows is success. And he can only get up for 2 or 3 games a year.
Right.
That's it. I got preseason. I got the draft. I got camp. I got every week one.
That's a great point.
Is like everything to me.
Right.
If you're undefeated after week one, you're walking with a pep in your step. Dude, a couple of years ago when we had Ryan Fitzpatrick for when Jameis was suspended and we started off 2-0, one of the first games was against, I think they were just coming off their Super Bowl against the Eagles with Nick Foles at quarterback. And we won. First play of the game, we go deep to Deshaun Jackson for a touchdown. I'm in my living room. I'm screaming. I'm telling my wife, we are going to the Super Bowl. Like, this is it. So I have so many chances for moments like that. And, yeah, we had some great years with Tom, and I would not trade them for anything. But now we're back to, quote-unquote reality where, it's not – playoffs are not a guarantee at all. And it is refreshing to get back to that because – the journey is the journey. Like you like seeing that get built up. And I think we have a good team right now. The quarterback is a question. Like we have a team with a lot of guys that won a Super Bowl a couple years ago, and good young players. Antoine Winfield, Tristan Wirfs, Ryan Jensen's a great player coming off an injury. Levante David, Devin White, like a lot of really, really good players. But I'm not naive. Like, you'll only go as far as your quarterback can take you. And right 100%. Now we're in a battle.
And how do you feel about that? Because I'm a Florida Gator fan, and I loved Kyle Trask at Florida. And I'll take a lot of heat for this, but I thought he was the next Tom Brady story. You know, he didn't really get the chance to play a lot at Florida. And then I think it was Felipe Franks went down, and I said, this is the best thing that happened to Florida. They came back, they won the Kentucky game, and then they ended up playing Alabama in the SEC championship. And I was telling people, I said, I think he could be the next Tom. And ironically, he gets drafted to Tampa, and he's backing up Tom. And I thought he was going to be the clear-cut number 2 quarterback. But it turns out he wasn't. Didn't you guys have like Blaine Gabbert or someone else as the backup?
I think that was a little bit more playing favorites. Like Blaine Gabbert had been with Bruce Arians and knew the system. You know, pretty easy guy to plug and play if something awful happened to Tom. Never really needed to happen. I think he played a little bit in like Detroit our final week of the season, or final 2 weeks of the season a couple years ago, and he got a couple reps in the second half. That doesn't really make a big difference to me. Kyle Trask was always going to be a project, and they drafted him to essentially get some glean off of Tom and just kind of learn how to be a pro.
Right.
And now that time is up, and it's time for him to win the job.
And do you think he's done enough? Because like what you said, I'm a Dolphins fan, so I haven't had any success. So everything you were talking about, like training camp means so much to me. Preseason means so much to me. Like week 1, week 2, like that all means so much to me. So I can only imagine. I'm invested in Dolphins training camp, and I don't miss anything. Like I refresh Twitter all day.
Oh, yeah.
So based off what you've seen in your Tampa Bay Buccaneers Twitter or social media, do you think Kyle Trask has done enough to be the starter?
Right now, I think it's almost 50-50. And I'm saying that like up to the minute. So we're taping this Tuesday at 4 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock Eastern. Kyle Trask threw 3 picks today in camp, which is not good. There's like Greg Allman's doing a really good job. He works for The Athletic covering the NFC South. He does a great job with like the interception counter. Right now it looks like Baker is at, I think he's at 8, maybe 9. He threw one today. Like throughout all of camp. Well, it was pretty clearly defined because we have a new system, so it's not like Kyle Trask has this big leg up where it's like, oh, well, he's just going to remain in Byron Leftwich's system as our old offensive coordinator. He got canned. We brought in Dave Canales from Seattle, who is Geno Smith's quarterback coach. And the idea is like, oh, can he revive a talented, obviously Baker was talented, he went number 1 overall. Can he revive a veteran who people gave up on like Geno? Or can he take that would be the Baker spin, or can he take a guy who is a relative unknown? The guy threw 9 passes in his NFL career. They're all week 18 last year at Atlanta. He was 3 for 9, didn't look great. Can we take this guy who's a bit of an unknown and make him a viable NFL starter? So either way this works out, I can sell it to myself. I can sell it as,
you got
the Geno project with Baker Mayfield, or it's, we know what Baker is, and we've seen enough of him, and Kyle Trask is a complete unknown, and maybe he's good.
Right.
So I can spin this either way. Trask looks good as far as he's leaned down. He's a lot more mobile. He said he's more like I listen to all the press conferences. I read everything that goes on every day of camp, and he's leaned down. He's more mobile than he's been in college. He's making better decisions. Baker was in the lead certainly to start. Just being familiar with
the speed of the game.
Yeah, the speed of the game, just like being able to take snaps, drop back, digest an offense really quickly. But it seems like Trask has closed that gap, if not surpassed Baker in the past week and a half. But Baker, it looks like, is going to start the first preseason game. They're going to alternate. Right. So I think they're going to get pretty equal reps, and we'll see how the rest of camp and the preseason games shake out. The Bucs are actually going to practice at the Jets next week. I'll be there, and then I'm going to go to the game in Jersey. It's going to play out. I think in my mind it would probably be better. I'm going to root for whoever wins the job, but at the end of the day, it would be better if Trask won, just because we don't know what he is, and he was a second-round pick 3 years ago, and hopefully he got a lot from Tom as far as how to be a worker. So I would probably prefer that outcome if you ask me.
Okay.
But if Baker wins, hey, we got a former number 1 pick under center, offensive coordinator who's good with reclamation projects.
So you're going with Trask over Baker, preferably. I think you'll root for any guy, but probably. And I agree. I'd rather see the third-year unproven guy over the Baker Mayfield that I've seen for 4 or 5 years. And I used to love Baker. He was one of my favorite quarterbacks in college. Yeah. But, I mean, just based off everything we've seen, his health, if I were a Bucs fan, I'd rather see what I have in this. I mean, he's not a rookie, obviously, but you don't really have
he's an unknown,
anything on him.
Yeah, he's an unknown, so certainly that would be interesting. I think my tune could change a bit if we see, like, okay, Baker's not turning the ball over anymore in camp. But if the reports are like he's throwing a couple picks every day, it's like, let's see what maybe things aren't changing. Let's go with the unknown commodity. Or it could be a situation where it's like, all right, Baker's ready right now. He can go, and then he just plays himself out, and we can see what Trask is. Either way, I think we're going to see some Kyle Trask at some point this season.
Okay. And I know you're a huge data guy.
Yep.
Do you say data or data?
Trust the data. Yep,
data. I'm a data guy, too. Okay. I don't like when people say data. It just sounds weird.
Yeah.
So are you taking the training camp data into your analysis? Like, let's say Baker throws 15 picks and Trask throws 12. Are you kind of like, we're going with Trask?
So they said that would be a pretty big deciding factor. You know, the
Bucs came out and said
yes before camp. Like when they said like who's going to be the quarterback, they said we're going to have to see how camp and preseason goes. It's probably going to be whoever turns it over the least.
Wow. Okay. So I'm drafting every Tampa Bay running back this year in fantasy.
Rashad White is. We'll get.
He's going to be a horse. Bit. Yeah. So all right. Well, let's get into some NFL futures.
Yep.
I'll let you start.
Sure.
I mean, there's really no limit on what you can say. Like, if it's MVP, Coach of the Year,
sure.
Playoff parlays, whatever it is, just give me some of your favorites.
Sure. So I have a lot out there. I made a bunch of bets after the Super Bowl last year.
You're a crackhead. I love it.
Yeah. I went pretty big on the Jets in the Super Bowl because the smoke was out there that they wanted Aaron Rodgers. They were pretty mispriced. You knew that the line was, I think I got it at 30-1 for the Jets to win the Super Bowl. So I have a couple out there. Like I have the Vikings 40-1. I don't necessarily think all these teams are going to win. I haven't made my official Super Bowl pick.
You like the number though.
But the value was very good at that time. My favorite offseason prop or offseason future at all is Amari Cooper over 925.5 receiving yards. He's done it. He had 1,160 yards last year with Jacoby Brissett and Deshaun Watson, who hadn't practiced with the team and hadn't played football really in a year and a half. He was throwing the ball at a 58% completion rate, 1,160 yards for this guy. I think the Browns are going to take a huge step forward with Watson and Cooper having a full off season together. Cooper has never missed more than, I believe it's 2 games, maybe 3 games in his entire career. He averaged a career high depth of target last year, so they're pushing the ball down the field. He averaged his second highest yards per catch last year at 14.9. And Watson, two things kind of pop for me in the books when I look at it. Watson averaged a career low 6.5 yards an attempt last year. Last time he played a full season in 2020, he led the league 8.9 yards per attempt. So he likes to throw the deep ball. He likes to go down the field. We all know DeAndre Hopkins was a monster with him in Houston. Amari Cooper, they played 6 games together. In the last 5 games, Amari Cooper had at least 1 catch of 20 yards or more with Watson. So that tells me Watson is looking for him deep, can find him deep, and will do so more next season. And the guy had 1,160 yards last year. So I think 925 is a bit low. I'd probably have this around 1,000.
I love that bet, honestly. And I'm with you. I think the Browns are going to have a huge bounce back year. I mean, I'm going to get into that later when we talk about our division winners. But with that full camp, I mean, obviously everything that went on limited him from training camp. I mean, I think they let him play in a preseason game or something. But that wide receiver quarterback connection is so huge. And the fact that even though Watson it was definitely his worst year of his career, he's still finding ways to get his guy the ball. I love that bet. I might even tail it.
Thanks. It's my favorite prop of the offseason. I got a couple more through, but let's kind of go back and forth.
All right, cool. So no surprise here. This is my favorite futures bet of the entire year. It's the Miami Dolphins to make the playoffs. They're only minus 105. Now, you're a Bucs fan. You went through a lot of suffering. I mean, at least you've seen 2 Super Bowls in your lifetime. I've seen 0 playoff wins. So this is kind of just a bet for me where if it doesn't happen this year, I don't know when it will. And I'm going to bet everything that I have responsibly on the Dolphins to make the playoffs, emotionally. Emotionally.
You're making a big bet on the Dolphins.
Yeah, big bet on the Dolphins. Because if it's not this year, I don't know when it's going to be. You just look at our team, and they're stacked head to toe. I know we don't have Ramsey. He's supposed to come back October, November-ish.
Yep.
So you have Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Cam Smith, Javon Holland, Brandon Jones, Raekwon Davis, JP, Bradley Chubb, Emmanuel Ogbah. Like, our defense is loaded. We bring in a DC and Vic Fangio.
Yep.
And I think we have one of the best wide receiving cores in the NFL.
Yep.
And I think it just comes down to Tua's health. If Tua is healthy and plays all 17 games, not only do I think they'll make the playoffs, I think they're going to win the division. So if they don't do it this year, I don't know when they're going to do it. And they need to win a playoff game. I know my bet is for them just to make it, but they need to win at least one playoff game for my sanity.
Yeah. I like a few things about Tua. He's a short guy, but he's not small from like a size, like he's a wide guy, he's muscular. He has a new helmet type, a new special like quarterback type that I've heard. I think Peter King wrote about this week, where it's a helmet that can get dented. So like if he goes to the ground, the helmet will essentially show where the impact is and absorb more of the impact in the helmet as opposed to the guy's head, which I don't know why they weren't doing that before.
Right.
And then he also learned a bunch of jiu-jitsu ways to fall.
Yeah.
So like,
I don't know how much that's going to help. I feel like it'll help a little bit, but when you're getting ragdolled by a 6'8", 350-pound D lineman, it's not like you're doing judo lessons with your trainer, So it's completely different. But my biggest thing with him is he's got that full arm sleeve now. And I feel like that's in his culture, that makes him officially a man. It's kind of like when someone has a bar mitzvah. Like, that was Tua's bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
He's got the confidence, and there's a video of him, and I've never seen this before. You had the privilege of having Tom Brady on your team, so you probably saw it week in and week out, where he took command of the Miami Dolphins offense, and he was kind of in their face. It was a little rah-rah. And for us Dolphin fans, I've never seen that before. So seeing him take command of the offense and, speaking with his chest a little bit and seeing the whole offense rally around him and listen to him, that just shows me, A, he's confident with where he is in the locker room. There's no power struggle between him and his head coach anymore. And two, that this is truly his team now. Like, before, you never had that. There was a quarterback battle with him and Fitz. And then it was the thing between him and Flo. And then last year was his first year with Mike McDaniel, and he missed 5 games. But now it kind of just seems like, all right, this is it. And if it's not it, I mean, he's not going to get extended. So
yeah. I mean, I could certainly see the Dolphins making the playoffs. I don't know if they're necessarily going to win the division. That division is tough because you're not even worrying about just Buffalo. You got to worry about the Jets. And I don't think anybody's really sweating the Patriots too much. But the Patriots aren't going to go.
They'll win games.
They're not going to go like 4-13. Like, they're going to be, they're probably going to be a 6-win team at least, just
6-7 wins,
by coaching alone. So. Yeah, I mean, that is a really, really tough division. If we're going homer picks, this is probably my third favorite prop of the offseason. I like Mike Evans over 900.5 receiving yards. Not only is he having a great camp, but he has a record on the line that's really important to him. He's had 9 straight seasons of 1,000 yards or more. They make a point to get him the ball towards the end of the season. You look the last 2 years, and it's been kind of close. I don't expect him to have 1,600 yards receiving. Our old offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, made a habit of asking guys if they had incentives in their deal or if they had any records they were chasing. And if so, he would feed them the ball. That, especially with this one, because if you're a Bucs fan, you know about this record. It's an NFL record to start the career. The record of all time is 11, I believe, by Jerry Rice. That is the goal. So anything under 1,500 yards, like, or anything under 900, like,
because he's got the ring now. So now, like, this will just cement his legacy.
Yeah. And the last 2 years, like, he's been not that close to it. In like with 2 weeks left, and he'll have a 200-yard receiving game the second to last week of the season. And he's going to shatter it.
I like that.
So they're going to make a point to get him the ball, even if they're 5-12, 4-13. He's going to be playing for this record. So I would. If I'm a gambler, which I am, I want my money on the right side of that, which is the over.
I like that. All right, so my next pick, it's kind of out of left field because I didn't really feel this way until I start hearing all these camp reports coming out of Carolina that Bryce Young is the real deal, and he's just out here like telling his veteran offensive linemen like what they should have did on the protection.
Sure.
And I love that. I was a Bryce Young guy when he was at Alabama. I think his pocket presence is elite. I'm taking the Panthers at plus 180 to make the playoffs. I think their defense is good. J.C. Horn, I think he's going to be one of the best cornerbacks in the league. They were able to run the ball down everyone's throat last year. I'm starting to see your face. It's because they're in the same division as the Bucs, so you don't really like this one that much.
I don't love it just because rookie quarterbacks don't necessarily always translate right away, but I would what's their odds to win the division? I'd almost rather just take that because
I have that later too. They're plus 325.
I would rather take that just because I can't see two teams in the NFC South making it. This is not a good division, and I'm in the division. We're not a great team right now. We're over under 6.5. Like Atlanta could be sneaky, but okay, they have Desmond Ridder at quarterback.
Right.
Carolina, okay, they have some pieces, but all their skill position guys are new. Adam Thielen is really old. Do we really trust DJ Chark that much? Hayden Hurst is a guy who's gotten the yips in his career. So Miles Sanders, he kind of a write-off in Philly. I don't know about that team. If I was going to pick them to make the play, I'd rather just go with plus 325 and go with
plus 325.
That someone has to win the division.
I have that on there too, and I feel like the Saints are just such an obvious answer. And the fact I think they're only minus 150, minus 160 to win the division. Mm-hmm. It's kind of concerning to me. I feel like that number should be minus 250.
That division, and that's another problem. So teams to I said to you right before we started taping is that the Bucs to win the division is very mispriced. And I don't necessarily think they are going to win the division. I think they absolutely have a puncher's chance because everyone in that division does because the division is so bad. They're plus 900 right now in the Barstool Sportsbook. So that should probably in my mind be plus 450, plus 500 like most of the other long shots are. Plus 900 is crazy disrespect for a team that's won it 2 years in a row that has a lot of the same pieces. Everyone thinks Tom Brady was the problem last year. They weren't paying close enough attention. The problem was the offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, and that offense was just so predictable. I think they're going to be a lot better on offense this year, honestly. They were pretty bad last year. So that was a 9-win team, 8-win team. So, I think they could absolutely be in that mix, and plus 900 is crazy value for that. So,
but I feel like the offensive line was putrid last year as well. I mean, you had a lot of camp injuries, which is why.
Brian
are those guys back? Is Jensen back?
Jensen's back. He, I believe he practiced today, but he's been on and off. He should be ready for the regular season and is fine. Tristan Wirfs moved to left tackle, which is a little bit concerning, but he's an elite player. We do have some new guys. Luke Gedeke is a second-round pick a couple years ago. He's starting to right tackle. Don't know why he's there. We have a guard we drafted, Cody Mock, who I think is going to be pretty good, and reports are he's good, but he's a draft pick, so we'll see. And then Matt Filer's just kind of a journeyman guy who's going to start at left guard. So I don't think that we're a top-tier offensive line by any means. But I think the offensive line will be a lot better than last year because the offense will be a lot less predictable. They're going to run the ball a ton.
Right. I like that. I mean, are you going to bet them plus 900? Or are you just
I already did. I bet them pretty big.
See, you're a real one. You're a real fan. I bet the Dolphins will win the division every year. Do you do the same?
I usually do Super Bowl, just like a decent bet. Nothing crazy. I'm not going broke over this. But the division one, I'm telling you right now, it's mispriced.
Okay.
It should be. They're not the favorites, so bet responsibly. But plus 900 is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you put 50, you get 450 back. I'd take that just for fun.
Yeah.
So the next one I got is, and it's going to kill me to say it, but I got Buffalo and the Niners to make the playoffs. It's minus 140. I usually like doing plus odds when it comes to futures because if you're going to sit there and sweat it, I don't want to open up my sports book and it's oh great, I got minus 480 on this future. So, but look, I think the Niners, regardless of who's starting, they're going to be just fine. I think they have one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Yep.
Their ability to run the ball with Christian McCaffrey behind that powerhouse offensive line. Mm-hmm. And I love Kyle Shanahan. I think he's a great coach. I mean, does he have questionable decisions at times? Sure. Mm-hmm. But I think he's one of the best minds in the league. And then Buffalo. As long as Josh Allen's there, that team is going to find ways to win games. And he's also going to find ways to choke games away, which I'm fine with. Mm-hmm. But they'll still win 12, 13 games. And I see both these teams getting in no problem.
So how many games you got Miami winning? If you got Buffalo winning 12 or 13 games, you like Miami to win the division.
If Tua plays all 17, I think we win 12, and we have a tiebreaker with Buffalo.
Okay. I like the two teams to make the playoffs. I went Chiefs and Chargers plus 150. AFC West, one of those teams is going the Raiders are not going to win it. I am not a Sean Payton believer at all, so I don't think he's going to be a miracle worker in Denver to the point where they're winning the division. So one of these two teams in my mind is the clear choice to win. The other, I feel like, is going to be good enough to be a wild card. Plus 150 is really solid value for both those. I mean, the Chargers could easily win the division. Nobody's going to bat an eye. The Chiefs are expected to win the division. So, two of the best quarterbacks in the league, I don't see missing the playoffs.
I like that. Do you have any other futures?
One I took, Stephon Diggs, over 1,100.5 receiving yards.
I mean, he's unhappy. They got to feed him, or he might leave.
They just don't really have that many. Like, people are all up on Gabe Davis.
Nah.
Gabe Davis has never had a 1,000-yard season. So, like, Josh Allen's going to throw the ball a lot. In his 3 years in Buffalo, he's averaging 1,396 yards. The line's 1,100. I'm going to take the over on that. It's minus 125, so a little bit more juice, but this one seems pretty. I know I should probably.
You don't want to say the word easy,
but like it seems. This seems low.
Seems like a lock. Sounds like a free bet. I don't want to put that on you right now. Yeah. All right, we'll get into some division winners now. The ones I'm going to give you, and I'm sure you'll probably say the same thing. It's not the team that I would necessarily predict to win the division. I just think they have the best value in the bet because I see potential for them to win the division. So I'm going to start with the AFC East. I'm obviously taking the Dolphins here, plus 325. I think it comes down to us in Buffalo. And I know a lot of people want to talk about the Jets. And even if you mix them in there, the Jets are plus 130. I think Buffalo's plus 110. So I'm getting plus 325, and I think we're on the same level as all three of those teams. I like that just from a value standpoint alone.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that argument plays. Like, yeah, the Bills, Jets, Dolphins, like, should be relatively equal. For the Dolphins to be more than twice the value of the Bills.
That's why I'm all over it. Obviously, I'm biased too, but I'm getting double the value.
Yep. To put this in perspective, the Pats are plus 850 to win the AFC East. Like, the Pats have no chance to win the AFC East. Like, the Bucs have a much better chance than that to win the NFC South, which is a bad division. In that division, honestly, I like the Jets plus 250. I think it's good value.
Sick, Cheah. You make me sick. My listeners are not going to like that one too much. But I respect it. I mean, look, I don't think the Jets suck. I think they're a good football team.
Yep.
The only thing I'm concerned about is if you've watched Aaron Rodgers the last 15 years, when he starts pouting and moping, I feel like it's going to be very contagious because this roster's so young. And they kind of look up to him as if he's a god. Like, you got Sauce Gardner buying him chains, this, that.
Yep.
Do you see that being a problem?
I see what you're talking about. He just seems, and we're taping this second week of August. Like, he seems like a born again dude, and I've seen it firsthand with Tom being really pissed in New England his last season. Everyone's like, oh, he looks like he's done, he's washed, which is what people are saying about Aaron Rodgers last year. And then he goes to a new situation where he's happy and he's reinvigorated, and Brady could have easily won MVP that year or the next year and won Super Bowls in both. So.
Okay, so you're in on the Jets, plus 250 to win the division, and you have a
plus
Super Bowl
they run the ball
ticket.
so much, and they have really good defense.
Yeah, I think they'll be good. All right, so then we're going to go to the AFC North. Now, I think the Bengals win this division barely, but I love Cleveland at plus 375 to win the division. I think Deshaun Watson having a full year with his guys is going to be huge.
Yep.
I love Amari Cooper. I think their defense is great. They got Myles Garrett, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
Yep.
I think they have serious value, and I'm going to give out an early Week 1 pick, but I think they beat the Bengals Week 1. I am in on the Browns this year to make some noise.
Like Joe Burrow's going to be coming back, you assume.
But this was before Joe Burrow even got hurt.
Yep.
Like, I saw the line Browns plus 3.5. I love division home underdogs Week 1. I think they hit at like an 80% clip, so I'm all over that.
And this one I like the Ravens plus 225. I mean, if Lamar Jackson's healthy, he wins 75% of his games.
Yeah, he's great. And they got Zay Flowers, who, by the way, I think is we'll get into that later. He's one of my sleepers. I don't know if he's considered a sleeper or not, but I think he's going to be one of the best receivers in the NFL.
20-1 Rookie of the Year, which I took a couple weeks ago.
I love that. He's a freaking gamer.
Yep.
All right, next we got the AFC South. This division sucks. I know everyone's giving it to the Jags, but they're minus 160. People forget, I think they were 3-7 before they won like the rest of their games the entire year. And they squeaked right in. I think they're a good football team. But from a value standpoint, I'm going back to Tennessee. They were 7-3 and lost like the last 6 games of the year, something like that.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to completely fall off that cliff. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback. As a Dolphins fan, like, I know exactly what Tennessee is going through.
Yep.
But that's why they went out. They get Will Levis. They also have Malik back there as well. And I feel like one of those guys could provide some type of spark. They still got Derrick Henry. I still think Mike Vrabel is a great head coach. And just to give the division to the Jags after, honestly, like, they got hot late against teams that were below 500, and they snuck in and they won a game because Justin Herbert and the Chargers had the biggest choke in playoff history. I don't think it's such a runaway. Now, I think the Jags will win it, but from a value perspective, I like Tennessee at plus 325.
I could see that. I'm not a big Tennessee guy. They clearly haven't been the same since Will Compton was released. Taylor Lewan also not there anymore.
Yeah, that blows.
So Jags 150 would be my pick to win the division. If we're looking at just the best value in this, I like the Colts plus 50, assuming Jonathan Taylor's situation gets resolved, he plays. I think a backfield with Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor is like big trouble.
But it's a backfield because I'm a Gators guy. I watched AR play, and I think he's a generational athlete. And I don't want to write him off and say he can't be great, but I don't believe his accuracy issues could be resolved from the time he played his last game at Florida, went through the combine, and now you want to throw him out in the NFL where the windows are even tighter, and he's missing 5-yard slants over the middle by 15 yards. I see that being a problem early in his career. Maybe year 2, year 3, he could turn that around. But for this year, I'd rather see Gardner Minshew start if I were betting on the Colts week 1 than AR, because I just feel like, yes, he's going to make big plays with his legs, but he's also going to have a lot of turnovers. And if you turn the ball over in the NFL, you're going to lose games.
Yeah, that one's not a great value perspective one, but like if I had to pick one, it'd be the Colts. I am not going to bet that. The Jags would be my pick, but minus 150, I'm not going to bet that division.
I like it. And then we'll go to the West. Again, I think this is one of those ones where I think the Chiefs will win the division, but if I'm going straight value, the Chargers at plus 350 is fucking insane. I don't even I shouldn't have to explain myself. They're the second best team in the division, and they're plus 350. I think that's insane.
Yeah, I agree. Chargers, I think, are a playoff team. They had, I think it was like 20 snaps or something like that where Herbert, Rashawn Slater was all-pro left tackle, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen all played together, and maybe they played together in like 2 games. Like, it's not a lot. They're gonna have way better injury luck than last year.
Who was that? Who was the NBA? Like the Nets with KD, Kyrie, and Harden. Like, they couldn't get on the court at the same time. And I liked the Chargers last year. I bet them to win the Super Bowl. Obviously, it didn't work out, but I think they got a good team over there. All right, so the NFC East. This is the first one where I'm kind of just like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm taking Philly minus 130. I personally hate Dak Prescott after what he did to me when they played the Niners in the game before the NFC Championship game. I had a shitload of money on the Cowboys, and they should have won that game. Just fucking Dak Prescott is going to be Dak Prescott. They'll win games in the regular season, but I genuinely fucking hate him, and I will never bet another dollar on the Dallas Cowboys in any way.
Eagles, I think, are probably the best value here, even at minus 130. Giants, I don't think are really a factor in the division at plus 900, that's good value. Commanders plus 1,600, like, all right.
They're plus 1,600?
Yeah.
That's got to be like the biggest odds, like, to win a division.
Yes, it is.
That's insane.
Yeah.
All right, we got the...
Cardinals plus 3,500.
There had to be one more. Yeah. That team blows. All right, the NFC North. I think this pick's going to surprise you. I'm taking the Packers plus 450. I think they have the best coach in the division. I don't think Jordan Love sucks. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. And I like their defense. And plus 450, look, I know the Lions are good, but again, that's another team that got very hot late, made some noise, and now everyone is just, I mean, they're even money to win the division. This team hasn't done anything the last 30 years, and you want to tell me that they're going to be even money to win the division? I don't like that at all. I'd rather get the plus 450 on a head coach that has proven himself. I mean, I think he's made the playoffs every single year. Did they make? I don't think they made it last year. Did they? I can't remember.
No, because
I think that was like the first time.
Yeah.
Right. I'm betting on the Pack because Rodgers went to New York. He feels reborn. I feel like the Packers fan base and their locker room and the head coach and everyone in there, they feel reborn too. It's all right. Let's turn the page. let's just buy into this team mentality instead of buying into AR-12.
Yeah, no, I can see that. The reports are Jordan Love has been really good in camp, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers won the division, honestly. I think their receivers are lacking. Christian Watson's all right. Like, he's got insane measurables. He dropped a lot of passes last year. We'll see what they can really turn that offense into. But, yeah, I like their backs, and their defense is still going to be good. I like Minnesota, plus 275.
Love Minnesota, too. Yep.
They're just going to be so talented. I think they're going to see an upgrade. I know Dalvin Cook is gone. I thought Dalvin Cook was a little bit diminishing returns last year. Like, I don't think he's this, like, I know you guys are punting after him, but I don't think he's this, like, change your franchise free agent. I think he's a good back who's very much on the back nine of his career. He's probably on hole, like, 15, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
And I know he's not that old, but running back shelf life just are not great. I think Jordan Addison's going to be a big upgrade over Adam Thielen. And I think this team can make some noise. Detroit, I can see installing them as the favorites.
I think that's
I know they got hot at the end of
crazy.
last year, but I wouldn't put them
crazy.
at the favorites.
Even money.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. All right, we got the NFC South, your division.
Yep.
I kind of went at this earlier. I like the Panthers plus 325. I kind of stated my case earlier, so I'll just let you have this one.
Yeah, I mean, similar. I think the Bucs are the best value in this, plus 900. I think that's a crazy price. It should be plus 500, if that, plus 450, 500. I think is the right price. Plus 900 is disrespect. I think you should throw it on it as a value play.
Okay, I like it. And then last but not least, the NFC West.
Yep.
This one, again, I'm laying juice. It's kind of like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm taking the Niners. I just know what I'm getting. I mean, look, Geno Smith had a great year last year. I'm happy for Geno. Everyone wrote him off. He didn't write back. I get all that. I just don't know if he could replicate it. I mean, it took – how long has Geno been in the league for? 8 years now? 9 years?
I think it was 2013.
Yeah, almost 10 years, and he finally had one great year, and it was great. I love Geno. Like, I had him as my fantasy quarterback. I just don't think that they have enough talent on that team with Geno Smith to win the division. And, I mean, who else would you put ahead of Seattle to challenge the Niners?
I'm not a believer in Seattle. The Rams, no thank you. Stafford, it looks like he's going to play and be fine, but still, him and Cooper Kupp both certainly on the little bit older side. Cardinals, no shot.
Zero.
So, the Niners plus minus 165 is I'll still take that even with the juice.
All right, love it. All right, now I know you're a fantasy guy. I'm a fantasy guy as well. Let's get into some sleepers here.
Sure.
We touched on him earlier. I mean, I don't know where Jordan Addison is going off in mock drafts.
Yep.
I mean, I would say at least round 9, round 10.
I can tell you.
I think he's going to be
Jordan Addison. He's currently being drafted ADP wide receiver 56.
Okay, see, perfect. All right, so I'll count that as a sleeper. I think he's going to be a stud. It wouldn't surprise me if he had the most receiving yards as a rookie this year, which is also, by the way, plus
Most
260.
receiving. Okay.
By a rookie.
Amongst all rookies. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's the clear-cut number 2 over there. And that team is air raid to the bone. Everyone knows how great Justin Jefferson is. You could double him. It doesn't really matter. But they're still going to have to throw the ball to someone else. And this kid is freaking talented. He could play. He was a beast at USC. And if you could get him round 8, round 9, you keep him on your bench or even put him in a flex position, I think he's got huge upside.
Yep. That's certainly a deep sleeper. Receivers, who am I like way higher on? Addison a lot. Zay Flowers, I'm much higher than.
Huge on Zay.
He's wide receiver 62. I have him as my 29th guy. Isaiah Hodgins for the Giants. This guy's being drafted as wide receiver 68. He's the Giants' number 1 receiver. So
let's stay on that with the Giants because I think Jalen Hyatt is going to be an absolute dog. I love him. He's probably my second, third favorite receiver in that draft class, and I think he's going to be the clear cut. I think he could be the wide receiver 1 by the end of the year. I mean, everything I've seen from him in camp, his ability to run, catch, track the ball. I think this kid's going to be a stud.
Yeah, and he certainly has a chip on his shoulder, falling in the draft a little bit, and then the Cowboys receiver coach being like, oh, you can't run routes or whatever, and then he's, turning guys around. So I know there's been a lot of buzz and social media stuff attention for him this past offseason. I have him as my wide receiver 49. Okay. So he's not being drafted currently, and so doesn't have an ADP. He's a guy. He's a guy who can certainly pick up. 2 receivers that I'm much bigger on than, or 3 receivers I'm much bigger on than most people. Garrett Wilson, I have him as my wide receiver 5 right after Stephon Diggs before A.J. Brown. He's going as ADP wide receiver 13. This guy 147 targets last year. Yeah. So, I mean, I know they picked up Alan Lazard, who's, you know, a Rodgers guy from Green Bay, but
he's a clear-cut one.
Yes. Just Rodgers is going to be so much better. In 9 non-Zach Wilson games, this guy had 49 catches, 656 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So if we can, you know, roughly double that, you know, obviously not fully, but we're looking at about 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns. Like, that's a very, very nice year. So Garrett Wilson is a player that I really, really like. And then I mentioned him before, Amari Cooper. I have him wide receiver 9. I have him ahead of Devontae Adams, which is a little bit nuts.
I mean, it makes sense, though, considering Devontae's going to be catching balls from Jimmy G, and he's like the check-down merchant king.
Right. And Devontae Adams had a huge year. I mean, 100 catches. He had like 1,500 receiving yards. But he also went to college with Derek Carr. He went from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr. I don't think Derek Carr is like the greatest quarterback, but he had a built-in rapport with Carr. Right, exactly. I don't think people are properly accounting for the Devontae Adams drop-off. He's going right now as ADP wide receiver 8. I don't like that. I have him like right next to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I think is a little bit on the way up, and Adams a little bit on the way down.
I love Amon-Ra. He's been huge for me. Not last year, but the year before. I was able to pick him up off waivers, and he changed my entire season.
Number 1 guy in the fantasy industry on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I had him as wide receiver 11 last year.
Wow.
He was ADP 31.
Wow. You're all over him. Mm-hmm. I love that. All right, so this guy, he's probably not even getting drafted because he's a handcuff. And I just think handcuffs are very important, especially in fantasy. If you're drafting Joe Mixon, you need to draft Chase Brown. They just got him from Illinois. This kid is unbelievable. If you watch his tape, his ability to just make defenders look stupid, which is what's required from NFL running backs, but his balance, I mean, it takes 4 to 5 hits to get this guy to go to the ground. If Joe Mixon misses any time and you don't have him as a handcuff, I'm telling you now, you will be very sorry.
Yeah, no, certainly. Joe Mixon definitely on the, not even the back 9, but he's, you know, getting
on
towards
like
the end. Yeah, for sure. Running backs, I'm really high on Tony Pollard.
I love him.
So he's going as RB9. I have him as RB2.
Damn. Who do you have one? McCaffrey, Pollard, and then who's 3?
Bijan.
Wow. I mean, he's a dog. I love Jahmyr Gibbs, too.
Yeah, I like Gibbs. I'm a little bit lower on Eckler. I really like Eckler's game, and he's in a contract year. I have him as running back 6. Who else is high? I'm not big on Taylor. I mean, you can't be Taylor at this point is almost undraftable until you figure out what's going on with his contract. Derrick Henry, I'm a little bit lower on. He's 29 years old.
He's still a tank, though.
I know. Saquon, I'm not as big on either, and I know, Saquon is in a contract year, all that stuff, but I can see a little bit of regression coming from him just because he hasn't strung together multiple like great years in a row. He had a really good year last year. Let's see what he does this year.
Where do you have Kenneth Walker? Because I took him and Breece Hall last year, and until Breece tore his ACL, I felt like I had one of the best running back duos in fantasy football.
I'm as running back 29.
Wow.
Yeah, he's going ADP running back 15. They drafted Zach Charbonnet in the 2nd round this year, so like that doesn't speak a lot to his their confidence in him. He's also out right now with, I believe it's a groin, where he's Charbonnet had a shoulder. He's back. So, like, let's see kind of what it looks like. But, again, I'm really down on the Seattle as a whole. They have, DK Metcalf I'm not big on. Lockett is always underrated. So, wherever he is, he's probably even a little bit underrated there. But still, Jackson Smith and Jigba, like, they have 3 good receiving options. From a fantasy perspective, everybody's kind of got to get fed, right? So, like, how much are you really investing in these guys? DK, do you really think he's going to catch like 1,400 yards? Like, no. With those other 2 guys, like with Geno Smith, that quarterback, like I know he led the league in completion percentage, but...
And all those guys are also boom or bust, too. Like, DK's either getting 25 or 0, and same with Tyler Lockett.
Lockett's actually remarkably consistent.
At least double digits?
Yeah. Double digits like fantasy points?
Yeah.
depending on what type of league you're playing in, if you're like
PPR.
If you're talking PPR, he's right around there. Like he's usually about 50 or 60 yards a game, like kind of a floor. And then some games will have 100 yards.
The 120 and the 60-yard bomb touchdown.
Yeah.
All right, so then we'll wrap up with this. So my friend asked me this question yesterday. I think he's got the first pick, but he was just asking me wide receiver rankings. And I think it goes Jefferson, Tyreek, Jamar Chase. Do you agree with that?
That's how I have it right now.
Yeah.
It's tough. It might flip-flop with Chase and Hill. It's really close. I bet Tyreek Hill, Offensive Player of the Year, and to lead the league in receiving. He just gets so many targets.
This year or
for this year? For this year.
I love that bet. Okay.
170 targets last year. I mean, this is a guy who, he is a deep threat, but also if he catches it short, he's a threat to take it to the house. So, 1,700 yards last year. First year in Mike McDaniel's scheme, Tua misses 5 games. I forget what that was. I feel like he was plus 1,800 or something for Offensive Player of the Year, and he's like plus 900 or something like that, or plus 700 to lead the league in receiving. So I took both of those.
Yeah, so like Mike Evans has this 1,000-yard thing. Like Tyreek's main goal is 2,000 yards, and I think he might have a shot at it. I know it's crazy, but why not?
I don't think it is. Yeah, I mean, he averaged over 100 yards a game last year, so why can he not do that again with his quarterback hopefully being healthy for more?
It all comes down to his health. So we talked about Tyreek, and then I know we said we'd wrap it up. If we're talking about Tyreek, we have to talk about Waddle. Where do you have Waddle?
Slightly lower than industry. He's going right now at average wide receiver 9. I have him as wide receiver 12. I don't think that's crazy off. Like, again, I'm really high on Cooper and Wilson, who kind of push him down a little bit, and then I'm higher on Amon-Ra than the rest of the industry. But like, I think I'm pretty in line with most people on Jalen Waddle.
Perfect.
Beautiful. I have him one ahead of Devontae Smith.
Awesome. Well, Steven, thank you for coming on the show. I had a great time today. Yeah. If you ever want to do this again, let me know.
Of course.
I'll definitely slide in your DMs, and we could talk some more ball.
Sure. And anyone who want to follow gambling picks, all the gambling picks are put out on Trust the Data, which also Chris Clemmer runs for baseball season. I do basketball and football. Football, we'll be cooking up some good stuff. Basketball, we do one pick a night every night. And football, I've decided exactly what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to do one best bet, like a single prop pick, and then a parlay. I like to do same game parlays too, so for primetime games, Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, I'll do those. But each slate, I'll probably have one best bet and a parlay.
Beautiful. You heard the man. Trust the data, trust the data, whatever you say, it doesn't matter. Just trust Steven. Again, thank you for coming on, and we'll do this again.
Cool. Thanks, Nicky.
Yep.